On April 30th, people here in Sweden and in neighboring countries like Germany, Finland, Denmark, and Estonia celebrate an annual feast day known locally as Valborgsmässoafton, or more often called by the shorter name Valborg. It is a day that is celebrated in different ways across different regions, but is generally a communal event where people gather to light big bonfires, sing songs, and hold speeches to announce the arrival of summer, and for students at various universities, as is usually the case, a chance to get very, very drunk. But what are the origins of this feast? Why do we celebrate it, and what's up with the bonfires? Valborgsmässoafton translates as the eve of Walpurgis' Mass and is often called simply Walpurgis Night in English. The tradition dates back to medieval times in Germany, from where it spread to neighboring countries, including here in Sweden. As is often the case with traditions here, it originates in Catholicism and with an 8th century English missionary called Saint Walpurga. Walpurga, from which the Swedish name Valborg derives, was a prominent Christian figure at the time who came to Germany as a missionary with the aim of converting the local population to Christianity. She appears to have been quite successful at this, and pretty shortly after her death, around the year 777, she was canonized as a saint on May the 1st, 870. And this is actually the origin of this feast day. It is a celebration of the canonization of Saint Walpurga on May the 1st. The celebration on April 30th, called the Eve of St. Walpurgis' Mass, is, as the name suggests, a celebration of the eve before May 1st, much like Christmas Eve or Easter Eve as it is known over here. And since the Middle Ages, this day has been celebrated across Northern Europe. It has direct origins in religious history and in the Catholic Church, but Valborg is also a lot more than this. It just so happens to fall on an important non-religious day as well. The last day of April has been considered a transitionary point where winter turns to spring and summer. It is often on May 1st that the cows and other cattle are released and allowed to graze outside again for the first time during the year. In Sweden and in the general consciousness of most regular people who partake in the celebrations, this connection to the arrival of spring is a lot more apparent and important than a relatively obscure Christian saint that most people don't know about anyway. Valborg is quite a popular feast day that many people participate in different ways. There are some recurring features of this day which everyone knows about and does, but as is often the case when it comes to religious rituals and traditions, people don't always really know why they are doing any of those rituals. On Walpurgis Night, the Swedes will gather outside to socialize. Usually the local government or inhabitants have arranged activities like food, musical performances, and generally to promote a feeling of community. Music plays an important role as choirs will often perform traditional songs in celebration of the arrival of spring. It's also common that a local celebrity or politician holds a speech on the same subject. Valborg has become an especially important holiday for the students in the country. Valborg celebrations at various universities, like that in Uppsala, can be very intricate and complex, involving various steps and stages like marches, choirs singing, picnics, champagne breakfasts, and in general the consumption of large amounts of alcohol. Celebrations usually take place in a relatively open field, and the most important and common feature of Valborg is the lighting of a big bonfire. The origins and reasons behind this bonfire isn't entirely known, and various theories are often put forth. Saint Walpurga herself became strongly associated with protection against evil spirits and witches. Some traditions claim that on April 30th, because of this transition between winter and spring and summer, witches and evil spirits are more active, and the most common explanation for the bonfire is that it has the purpose of warding away these malignant forces. Others argue that it is related to the arrival of spring and the releasing of cattle to outside environments. As a result of this, the farmers would light bonfires to ward off predators that could easily prey on the newly released cattle. In any case, the reason behind the fires and all of the other rituals aren't really that important. This is a good example to show the nature of how religious traditions and rituals generally work. People don't always care why they do things, but only care about the very doing itself. Most Swedes don't light the bonfire and celebrate Valborg because they want to remember Saint Walpurga and her powers to ward off evil forces. They do it because everyone does it. They do it because their parents did it, because it's just something we do. Religion and rituals is first and foremost something that we do. As many scholars of religion today argue, the action or performing of a ritual itself is what always comes first. It's the priority. Any rationalization about why a ritual was performed comes secondarily, if at all. It is through ritual actions and ritualization that we create meanings, that we create social bonds and identities, and that is, at least according to one interpretation, what religion and ritual is all about. And any sort of metaphysical or cosmological meaning behind any ritual in that sense is really secondary. Rituals like that on Valborgsmässoafton are performed not because of some underlying theological or existential purpose or reason, but because they bring a sense of familiarity and comfort. It creates a sense of social belonging and cohesion, being a communal festivity in which a large amount of people participate. It's not about Saint Walpurga, or really about the arrival of spring and summer, but about us and how we interact and create bonds and connections to other people and a larger social context. And I think all of this can give us a few things to think about when it comes to traditions, what their functions are and how we relate to them. Glad Valborg, and I'll see you next time.